And we are live. Hey, private practice success community. Good to hear. How are you going? Let's make sure we are live in the right group, because these things happen and I have gone live in the wrong group before. And tonight, of course, I want to speak particularly with my private practice success community. Hey Robin, how are you? How are you going? Please let me know that you can hear me well. That would be amazing, because sometimes what happens with my iPhone is it just randomly decides to connect up with my Beats headphones that I use in the morning when I go on my morning run or to the gym, and I wouldn't even notice it, right? And then people just tell me they can't hear me. So if you can let me know how the sound is, that would really put my mind at ease before I start talking and sharing all the goodness with you guys. Let's make sure I'm in here. Hey Alison, oh, we've got 2 Tassie people on all at the same time. So exciting. How are you guys going? She said, yes, can hear me beautifully all the way from King Island. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Cool. Let's see who else is going to join us. I just want to wait a couple of minutes so more people can hop on before we start talking, so we can all join in the discussion. So maybe tell me, what have you been up to today? What are you celebrating today? What did you get ticked off your list? I, for one, today did go to the gym, but my biggest celebration today is most certainly the fact that I started packing, because, thank you Alison, because we are moving mid to end January up to Agnes Water. And yes, we don't even have somewhere to live yet. We're still looking for a rental, but you know, I've got a lot of behavioral flexibility. I can go with the flow. So today I packed my first 2 boxes in my home study, and I'm so excited that that process has started. Hey Anastasia, how are you? Welcome, so excited to have you here. If this is your first time on a live stream with me, please let me know, say hi and say hello. Robin says, I started couch for 5K for the first time for some self-care. Couch to 5 kilometers. I'm reading 5K and I'm thinking $5,000, and I'm trying to make sense of what that means, because that sounds good as well, right? Couch to $5,000, that's awesome. Yes, 5Ks, that's a good number to run for. I never run more than 5Ks, and it still takes me 45 minutes. Awesome. Yeah, so yeah, that was my biggest achievement today. What else did I do? I'm sure I did some work as well. Of course, it is school holidays. When that happens, everything is topsy-turvy, right? I do try and maintain as much as a routine and schedule, but that's not always possible, because you need to manage the kids and they're hungry all the time. And it's like, look, mommy, look, you need to watch everything, right? All right. So let me just refresh my laptop. So when I'm looking down, I'm looking at my laptop. It's because I don't always trust Facebook up here to give me all the comments. And if you've ever live streamed yourself, you would know you can't trust Facebook to show you all the comments. And I would hate for anybody to think that I'm ignoring their comments. All right, let's do this. So, we're going to talk about a really interesting topic tonight, all right? And the topic was raised by a question in the group by the lovely Samantha. And she said, hi everyone, hoping for some advice. How do other psych practice owners deal with team members, and in her case, psychologists, and I'm sure that this could apply to other allied health professionals as well, that have a pattern of providing 2 to 3 appointments and then discharging the client, and then presenting issues resolved. Thank you. Hey Jackie, so good to have you here live with me as well. So if you're watching live, please let me know via some love hearts. If you are watching this as a recording because maybe you are still busy doing dinner and doing stuff with the kids, I know for some of us it is still school night. My kids are already on holidays, so they're just like chilling inside with their iPads at the moment, and they've had dinner. So if you are watching live or the recording, please give me some love hearts right now if you have found yourself in a similar situation. Hey Olga, how are you? Let me know, have you found yourself in a situation where you might have a clinician, and I don't know, generally when I speak to private practice owners through the mentoring and coaching that I do with them, generally this is when somebody's fairly new to the practice, right? They might be there, 2, 3 to 6 months, and the practice owner is starting to cotton on that something is going on here that doesn't look that right. Hey Julie, how are you? Hey Melissa. Okay, we've got a few people joining. Hey Sarah, how are you? So excited to have you all here. So it often happens during those early stages, right? And the fact of the matter is you want to address these things as soon as it pops up. Now, I think on the question post in the group, Dr. Amy Talbot, lovely Amy from Sydney, made this comment that I 100% agree with. And Amy said that unless it's subclinical, this is a red flag. And I totally agree with that. So what is subclinical? This is maybe you're worried. This might be, people coming for EAP sessions, and you are actually contracted to just get in there, do solution-focused therapy, send them on their way. Hey, Jason, how are you? Hey, Joni. And subclinical, of course, means people that do not meet criteria for a diagnosis. So basically, they come in and they're over and done with. And of course, that happens, right? I clearly remember one of my clients, and this is an example that always comes to mind for me when I think about it. I once had a GP come and see me that had 2 sessions. And of course, in the early days, it's like, oh my goodness, the GP's coming to see me. I better be on my best behavior, do this good and do this well, right? Hey Jay, good to have you here. Welcome to the group as well. And I was feeling a bit nervous, and he was actually one of the GPs from our Practice Angels. So one of our biggest referring surgeries. And he came in and we had our intake interview, and he's probably basically he had to choose between 2 specializations, 2 very prestigious specializations. He did have opportunities and offers to go and do both, and he couldn't choose. Right? So we solved that in 2 sessions, but that's completely different. That is not the standard private practice referral. Unless, of course, maybe, I don't know, your niche is this type of work, okay? So there's always exceptions to the rule. So if you have a bit of a corporate type of feel to what you do, and you've got your rooms are maybe there in Brisbane CBD, and you only work with these type of clients, then yes, 2, 3, 4 sessions, done and dusted. But let's face it, that is the exception. The normal bread and butter private practice work that we do requires, I would say, minimum 6 sessions, right? Hey Naomi, hey Pradhini, welcome guys, or I should say ladies. When I say guys, I mean ladies as well, right? And I think Amy made the comment there, and Amy is very well versed in the research around clinical interventions, in terms of, that people, and the research is clear, people require between 12 and 18 sessions, right? And I'm sure there'll be other research around it as well. From my perspective, having had years and years of experience in private practice, bread and butter private practice work with a child and adolescent practice and a trauma practice, I can tell you that the majority of our clients require a minimum of 6 sessions. It is what it is. Okay, so let's just acknowledge, I just want to open this up. Let's just acknowledge there are exceptions, okay? Rural Victoria, good to have you here, Naomi. And guys, please, I want this to be a two-way communication, all right? So if I say something and you go, hang on, Gerda, what about A, B, and C? Please pop it in there. If you agree, give me love hearts. If you disagree, don't give me angry faces. Tell me in the comments why you disagree. Tell me in the comments what your experience was, right? I've got time tonight. The kids don't have to go to school tomorrow morning, so let's talk about this topic. So again, if you bread and butter private practice work, that will be the exception rather than the norm. Jackie says have kids lurking around. No worries, Jackie. So that's the first and foremost one thing. Then if I think about, all right, if it's not a subclinical presentations that you have, right, and you do, bread and butter private practice work, hey Jess, welcome, then you really need to be concerned. I would be. And it's really important as the practice owner to look at the person's caseload, all right, and to try and see what's happening here, what trends, what themes emerge. Because let's just be clear here. If a client comes to see us in private practice, that for me, therapy, counseling, psychotherapy, whatever word, treatment, whatever word you use to describe it, and of course I'm talking here as a psychologist, right, is very structured in my mind, the overall, the macro process. The micro process of what happens in sessions doesn't have to be structured. It can if you like it, if you like very CBT orientated and stuff. Yes, it can be very structured. I do CBT, ACT, mindfulness, but I'm very much psychodynamically trained based on the university that I studied at back in South Africa, did a lot of TA, object relations, Gestalt, all of that psychodynamic work. So, I know that there can be a lot of flow in the micro delivery within your sessions. But from a macro perspective, therapy is and has to be structured. It is a process. Like, people do not get better in one session or in 2 sessions or even 5 sessions sometimes. They get better over time. They get better by coming in for the session, talking, listening, absorbing, learning, debriefing, sharing, doing whatever is needed, and then going back into their lives and integrating that stuff. And then coming back to session and going, okay, this is how it's been, this was helpful, this wasn't, etc., right? So therapy is a process that happens over time. And if you think again from a macro perspective, hey Michelle, welcome. From a macro perspective, session 1 is intake, right? You need to do a proper intake in order for you to do a proper case formulation, in order for you to come up with a proper treatment plan. And I find a lot of times, and this could be, and I'm gonna give you maybe some things to think about when you start problem solving this with your team. So a lot of times what happens when people come into the world of private practice, and I've seen this time and time again, they might come in, if they're a new grad, with a sense of anxiety and oh my goodness, I need to give this person as much value as possible. So what do? They try and jump in there and give them handouts already in session 1 so that they, as a new therapist, as an inexperienced therapist, can feel good on the inside as a human because they've given value. Now, I can't fault them for wanting to feel good about that, right? I totally get it. And let's be honest, people, how many of us has been there? I know I have, okay? That's how you learn through experience. And the fact of the matter is, it trips you up along the way, okay? So it's about maybe, and that's where the supervision stuff comes in, right? In terms of reflecting, what do you do normally in session 1 with your clients? So I would ask that of somebody that's struggling with this. And I would really dig, because people might give you very short answers. Sometimes people give you answers that they think they need to give you. And you shouldn't come up with the answers for them. You need to really peel the onion and then go, and then what did you do? And then what happened? And how did you do that, right? To really get an insight in terms of what's happening in the micro in session 1. Because session 1 needs to be an intake session. of course, it's important for us to position our clients that they know that this is what happens at session one. And you want to do that from the moment they call up to make that appointment. So when they are on the phone, reception needs to already start positioning the client so that when you come in and see Michelle or Joanna, I'm making the two OGs because it's the last names I can see here, Psychs tonight. When you come and see Joanna, for example, this is what happens during session one generally, okay? This conversation becomes even more important when you have child and adolescent referrals where you need to spend time with the parents so they know that you're going to spend time with them and that this is not an intervention for little Johnny session one. This is an intake so that we can do a proper case formulation, come up with the right treatment plan for you and your child, or if you're an adult, for you, right? So that's session one. There should be no problem solving unless, of course, you are contracted through EAP companies to do problem solving in session one. All right, and we all know that that type of stuff is just band-aid work, band-aid work, band-aid work, right? So yeah. Session two is, okay, welcome them back. And of course, there's a lot of engagement and that type of stuff that needs to happen, right? Rapport building through reflection, unconditional positive regard, congruence in session is essential for building rapport and engaging clients in session one. If people do not come back after session one, normally one of two things have happened. Okay, either you didn't position them properly for them to know what to expect in session one, or two, you didn't engage in a sufficient reflection for them to feel listened to, for them to feel truly heard, and for you to build that rapport. And again, another mistake that especially new grads make, or inexperienced clinicians, no worries Julie, is that they are so busy making notes that they do not do appropriate amount of reflection and therefore rapport building. It's those micro counseling skills that then gets left behind because again, they want to do a proper job, right? So that's the unteasing of finding where is the problem here and how do I help this clinician to overcome it. All right, so it could be in session one already. And again, when I find that, you know, it's an inexperienced thing, I'm not going to come down on this clinician like a ton of bricks, right? I'm going to help them. You might be the practice owner, but you still need to help them with building their caseload. And especially if you make a decision to have new grads or inexperienced people in your practice, that's what you need to do. And I have lots of new grads coming through my practice. In today's job market, you really need to be open to that, right? And you know what? I find the majority of them very open to taking feedback. Very open. I actually love working with new grads. I love teaching them how to do therapy, right? And teaching them, you know, the stuff that I know works, the stuff that I know is going to make them an amazing clinician in private practice. And Naomi sees tools can't be used without the relationship. Exactly, Naomi. And you've got so much experience in you know, supporting provisionals in your practice as well. And it's so true, right? So it's really about teasing out what's happening in that first session. And what I was saying, the other thing, it might be new grads that struggle with that wanting to give value in session one, or sometimes it's people that actually comes from public mental health and they might be very experienced, or they come from NGOs and charities. Again, they might have years of experience, right? But now they're stepping into an environment and oh my God, I shouldn't say that, but oh my goodness, oh my golly, people are not actually paying to talk to me and to have 15 minutes with me, you know, and it's like all this pressure all of a sudden, whereas previously it was free, you know, if I do a good job, awesome. If I suck, well, it's not that bad, right? I'm not saying people think like that consciously, but I suspect sometimes there's this unconscious thing. So so sometimes that could happen with experienced practitioners coming into private practice. And then they also try and over-deliver in session one, you know, by often, like I said, not positioning the person, which then comes across as under-delivering because client expects you to do A, but you're doing B, or they try and over-deliver and they completely overwhelm the patient or client, I should say, right? They completely overwhelm that person by giving them too much stuff, and the person just goes, it's too much, I can't deal with it, I'm already overwhelmed, I'm already anxious, I already can't even, comb my hair and wash my hair, and now they're giving me all this stuff to read. Like, really? No, this is too much hard work, right? So it's such an important balance in getting session 1 right. So don't underestimate the importance of having this discussion with a brand new clinician when you're doing your onboarding. And I would have these discussions with them, whether they're brand new, like straight out of uni coming into my practice, or they are an experienced 20-year, 30-year veteran of psychology. I don't care. I don't know how you do your session 1. Until you tell me how you do it, I've got no idea what happens in there. And I need to make sure that this person has a great experience with us and with our practice and with us as a mental health service, right? Because I never want to do anything that makes them go, well, that was a waste of time and money. I'm never going back and I'm never seeing a psychologist because it was a waste of time. I cannot afford that. I will not contribute to the stigma around mental health and towards any person not engaging in psychological therapy when they need it. Jay says client engagement and trust are so important in getting outcomes. Exactly. And Lucas just joined us. Now I'm feeling a bit nervous because Simon is an expert on client retention and client outcomes. Okay, I'm feeling very nervous now because Simon is so awesome at this stuff, right? So you will have to correct me if I'm wrong, Simon. But I'm not going to repeat what I've just spoken about. So Simon, you're going to have to go and listen to what I've just said. All right, so that is session 1. All right, so remember we're looking from a macro structure perspective in terms of why people might be falling out of sessions. And this is why session 1 is so important. So let's move to session 2. So session 2 is really all about they're coming back. Did you have any other thoughts or feelings after our last session, etc., that type of stuff? Hang on, before we go to that one, let's see what Naomi says about session 1. Naomi says, I like to position things in the first session by letting the client know we have 3 jobs. Oh, this sounds interesting. For me to understand them and what has brought them in, yes. For them to suss me out, yes, and seeing whether I'm the right fit for them, and for them to leave with an idea of a plan of where they would like to go in therapy and how they will know if it's helping. I love that. That's a great script as well to give to your provisional psychologist, right? Hey, Melissa, how are you? Awesome having you here. All right, so that is session 1. So with regards to session 2, it's like check-in, re-establishing rapport, all of that type of stuff. And then during session 2, we would normally give somebody, Jay loves it, Naomi. So in session 2, we give the clients their DAS results. So at session 1, before they even have session 1, they will do a depression, anxiety, stress scale, the 42 item. If it is parents bringing in kids, we will get them to do the strengths and difficulties questionnaire, the SDQ. Simon says positioning clients happens by your referrers, the website, and the intake process. What a good one. Your referrers, the website. Oh, I'm going to get sidetracked. No, I'm not going there, but that's awesome. Alison says, oh, snap, Naomi, I second that. That's how I approach it too. And then every session, Simon, you are so right. You are so right. I always tell my people, my registrars, like, you start every session with, okay, so last time you came in, this is what we did. This is what we're going to do today. And then you write, and I'm not sure whether that's what you're referring to, Simon, but that's what I tell them. And then you wrap the session up in a neat little bow before you send them on their way, right? We go, okay, so this is what we did today. And this is what you need to do if there's homework. And this is what we'll do next time. And you need to take the client on the journey with you. It is so important for us to educate clients as to what that journey looks like, because they might have no idea, or they might have their own expectation. Probably from watching Dr. Phil or Fraser, right? Oh, I loved Fraser when I was younger. back in South Africa, they will have their own idea of what this might look like, which might be totally wrong. So session 2, we will then give them their DAS or SDQ results. Because remember guys, you need to do pre and post intervention assessments, especially if you're seeing clients under Medicare. If you're seeing the traditional ATAPS clients, they require that. But I think it's just good practice because it really gives you numbers, it gives you a benchmark, and it gives you something quantifiable to look at, right? And I suspect a lot of times that's the stuff that the GPs look at as well. And if you're going to give a client a questionnaire before session 1, you really are ethically required to give them the results of that, right? And you guys would know I've previously shared a video in this group where I showed you where I modeled to you how I talk clients through the DAS feedback. Now, for some clients that might take 5 minutes, for other clients that whole session could take 35 minutes of just talking about the DAS, right? So remember, like I said earlier, I've got structured stuff that I do overall from a macro perspective, but micro, I'm flexible, you know, it's what the client needs in terms of how that session goes. But you need to give them that DAS results in session 2. And then I really use that to go, okay, so based on what we're seeing, what are we going to work on, right? And I'm not going to talk you through how I do the DAS results. There is a video in here on that. And then we go, okay, we use that to then set goals and expectations between that session and session 6, which really is another 4 sessions, right? Because this is session 2 and it's session 6, so you're going to do another DAS, and that's when you need to write a GP report, send them back to the doctor, etc., etc. So you need to give them that. You use it to build further engagement, get commitment, get clear on the goals, speak maybe a bit about flight of health that sometimes occurred, that type of thing. And then generally I start to engage in a bit of psych education with regards to the type of therapy that I think is going to be the right fit for them. You know, are we going to do, you know, straight shooting CBT? Are we going to do a bit of ACT, mindfulness? You know, what are we going to do here? Because I think it's really important for the client to know what type of interventions you're going to use. Let's just see. Comment from Simon. Hey, Lana Joy, how are you? Simon says, FYI, all viewers. Oh, I feel so like I've got viewers. I love it. Viewers says, 1-day workshop for the public on client retention by yours truly and one of my senior clinicians. Yes. Already at 40 pin. Yes, yes, yes. That's good. If you can get to Simon, make sure you get to his workshop. Jay says, I'll also use the cross-cutting screener in session 1 or 2. Ooh, interesting. We'll have to have a look at that. Hey, Celine. What's up, young lady? How are you going? All right. So that's session 2 is psych education, that type of stuff. And then you really start to go into actual therapy. So if you think about it, if somebody's done after 3 sessions, like how much could you really have done with them? Right? How much? Because you're really only starting with in-depth work at session 3. So I would really look at what the clinician is doing, what happens in those initial 2 sessions, because I, for one, am convinced that you set the foundations for therapy as you continue, right? And I truly believe the fact of the matter is this, you know, if somebody just comes in and I just go straight into problem solving and into active therapy, you can do that. The client might leave after 4 or 5 sessions feeling better and go, oh, I've got 5 skills that I can use. But it's almost like you go in there, you do your magic and it's poof, poof, poof. It's all done and out they go. But the client has not had the opportunity to gain a conscious awareness of what these new skills are that they have. All right, which means that in 2 months' time, they're going to be back. Or at least in 6 months' time, they're going to be back, right? And it's so important for clients to understand what they are learning. Okay, because I can go and see a psychologist or a counselor or anybody, have a really good talk. They can give me some skills and stuff. And it's gonna, that high of that connection is gonna last me 2 months. And I'm gonna be back where I was. because I didn't have the opportunity to truly step back, get the psych education on what's happening. How do we make sense of what's happening for me? That's case formulation, right? And for me, and I'm not saying show your whole case formulation for your client, you need to be able to explain it to your client in a way that makes sense to them, right? And they need to make sense of that. That is such an important part of becoming aware of why I need to change as a client, or why I need to do these things. Why do I need to go and implement these things my psychologist is telling me to do, right? Or there's not going to be long-term success. And for me, I'm very much driven by how do I make sure that this person rather do more sessions now, but don't have to come back in 6 months, right? And yes, you know, a lot of disorders are recurrent in nature. But my goal is always to make the period between recurrences as long as possible, which means that they need to know what just happened to them. I didn't just do magic. They need to know what happened during this process, right? So they can feel comfortable, so they can take it with them, so they can utilize it in their lives, rather than me just going, I did my magic and I'm so super cool. Doesn't work like that. All right, where are we? Let me just refresh this page. So that's the things that you want to look at in terms of going, how do I find what's wrong here? Another thing that often pops up, and I'm speaking out of, hey Tani, how are you going? How's Perth tonight? Another thing that pops up very often is a fundamental approach to doing, not approach, belief around therapy and how this stuff works. Now I'm going to talk about this, and this has the potential to divide people into two different camps. So we are all adults here. We're not going to get triggered. We're not going to get defensive. We're just going to be very adult-like. We're going to step into our adult ego state, if you know transactional analysis, when we're having this discussion. Lovely in Perth. It's amazing. Same here in Brisbane. Lovely evening. Balmy and sweaty. Too much information. So when I speak to clinicians, particularly psychologists, people generally fall into one of two camps, right? So it's either the camp that says, I am the expert. Me as the psychologist, me as the clinician, I am the expert and I know what it is that you need. And then there's the camp that says, no, you are the expert. You as the client are the expert. You know what it is that you need. Now, I am not getting involved in assigning who's right or wrong here. Okay? If you know me well, you know what camp I'm in, right? I respect this as being a fundamental difference in belief amongst mental health professionals in terms of how they look at it, right? However, what I have found is that when somebody has a fundamental belief that the client is the expert, and they will tell me, some people operationalize, for lack of a better word, that belief in an unresourceful way, where they go, no, the client needs to tell me if they want to come back for sessions, right? It's like, no. They might just go, that was so flipping hard, that session. I left and I cried my eyes out. I looked like a wreck. I had to go home and sleep for 2 hours. It was bloody exhausting. I'm not going back, right? Okay. Don't let that belief let your clients get out of coming to treatment that they need, or to counseling that they need, whatever word you use. So again, remember, what I'm talking to you about is stuff that I have seen, having had many hours of discussions with clinicians face to face, trying to tease out why their clients are dropping out of session, right? And I always go into these discussions with an inquiring mind, with a supportive, helpful mind. And these discussions go well as long as they enter with the same mindset. If people are becoming defensive or they don't want to engage, that's not helpful, but that's a different that's a different issue. That is a conflict avoidance issue, which also then has to be addressed because that comes up as well. So you want to go into this from an inquiring mind perspective, and that's how these things have popped up, where people have told me that this is what they believe, and therefore I'm not going to tell the client that they need to come fortnightly for the next 6 sessions because the client knows what they need. It's like, no, right? The client needs to have a choice of whether they come or not. But it's really important for us to step into our knowledge and our experience, and very often having to advocate for the client's mental health. There's so many clients out there that have very low self-worth. We know that, people, right? We know that. Why not, Simon, why not one camp with both beliefs? I like that. Because people often have so much low self-worth, right? And sometimes we need to step up and be the one fighting for them because there's nobody in their lives doing it for them. Their self-esteem is like shattered. They don't think that they even deserve becoming better, right? And very often they're just going through the motions because their doctor told them to, and they don't want to disappoint their GP. That happens. Who can relate to that? Who has had that happen? Okay, it's often happens. So, I mean, anything could occur, right? So I'm always thinking, is that what's happening for this client, right? Is that what's happening on the inside? And I am very happy to be the one to advocate for their mental health until they're at a place where they can take ownership of it, right? I will never push a client into sessions. I will never harass them to book in. I will just tell them based on what it is that we've discussed today, both based on what it is that you've told me, based on what your doctor has said, this is what I think needs to happen for you. How does that sit with you? So it's still client choice at the end of the day. But we need to be there and say, based on what I'm seeing, okay, this is what you need. Do you want to do this? Okay? And fight for them and advocate for them in that way. Hey, Sonia. Simon says, why 2 camps? Why not 1 camp? Yes, so client is the expert in the life and what they need, and therapist is the expert in mental health and the process of therapy. I truly, truly love that. All right, so you want to check that out as well as you trying to tease these things out and problem solve it. Simon says, totally agree. We need to advocate and help clients stay motivated on the journey. Exactly. The thing is, therapy is flipping hard work, right? It's such hard work, and it's emotional work, and it's painful work. It's why clients sometimes lash out at us, right? Because it's painful work. It's sometimes why they drop out. It's painful work. Jay says, I believe that I have valuable knowledge to share as a psychologist, and that respect for the client is extremely important. Here, 2 equal humans discussing the issues in a coach and athlete type relationship. Yes, that's a great way of looking at it as well, right? And a coach sometimes tells an athlete what they need, right? But the athlete also needs to come to the party with that discipline and motivation. Hey, Salema, how are you? All right. So that is the teasing out of stuff. Now, I know sometimes, and this comes up in conversation when I speak to practice owners, it's trying to have these conversations with their team, is that they, as a practice owner, we are sometimes scared to talk about this stuff. Why? Tell me why. If you know this is happening, and unfortunately, I don't think Samantha's on here live with us, but if Samantha was here live, I would ask her, you know, what has been holding you back to date to have this discussion? And I'm not sure, has something been holding her back to date, right? Other than just time, perhaps. But ask yourself, and I'm sure we have all been in this situation. Hey, Kasha, how are you? Where you've gone, I'm seeing these numbers, it's not looking good, it doesn't feel right to me, my intuition is telling me something is off, but then we don't address it. And we as practice owners also need to look at what is happening for us that we don't address it. Okay, is it our own conflict avoidance? If it is, you need to deal with it through your own supervision, mentoring, coaching, right? You need to deal with it. As a business owner, Yes, you're allowed to be fearful of conflict, but you cannot allow it to stop you from running your business. You cannot allow it to stop you from leading your team. You cannot allow it to stop you from managing your team, because sometimes you need to be a manager when you need to discuss performance related stuff. Other times you need to be a leader, okay? And you cannot run a business that's going to be free of conflict. Business is full of conflict. So this is really something that you need to work on, and you need to, I wouldn't say get good at it. You just need to be willing to deal with the conflict when it comes. Doesn't mean you need to like it, right? I will never like conflict. I don't like it. But if I need to go through a conflict situation, that is what needs to be done, right? That's just how it is. You need to accept it. So if that is you, then you need to deal with it. If that is you and you think that your clinician might struggle with that, have compassion for them, because you understand exactly what they are going through, and maybe think around how would you want your manager to approach you, right? Another thing that practice owners often bring up to me when they speak to me privately about why they are reluctant to address these things is that they don't want to be perceived as being money hungry or lining their pockets, because we're talking numbers, okay? Tell me if that has crossed your mind as a practice owner. But remember, we in this group, we are honest, we share, we are vulnerable. So tell me if that has happened for you, where you've gone, I know I need to have this discussion, but I don't want to, because the clinician is going to think that I'm only doing this because it's all about the money. Hey Rachel, hey Denise, welcome ladies. You've missed how much? How long have I been talking now? 41 minutes, can it be?
So they can feel comfortable.
Hang on.
So they
Hang
can
on,
work with
shush.
them, so they can
Shush. Hang on, there you go. See, if I get distracted, technology takes over and I don't know what I'm doing. Where was going with this? Oh yes. So if that's holding you back, you need to address this in your own mind. If your clinician maybe raises it, so it's very easy if somebody is conflict resistant, if somebody is, becoming defensive when you start raising this topic, it's very easy for them to, come out guns blazing and said, well, I'm not having this discussion because all you wanted to talk is talk numbers, because all you care about, Gerda, is the money, right? So if a clinician comes out and says that, you need to talk this through with them. And some clinicians will have the balls to say this to you in your face. Other clinicians will think it and they won't say it. So I think it's really important to address the unspoken objection, because it's probably there, even if it's just in the back of their mind, because it is an excuse, okay, for them not to take action on their numbers, okay, by going, well, I'm not going to, because she's just talking to me about this because she is worried about the money, so I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit here and nod and just keep on doing it my way. And again, you can't afford that to be the case, right? You need to go, what is there this unspoken objection potentially? And I would address it, and I would go, I've had this conversation with people previously, and at times people feel that when we're having this discussion, thank you Salema for putting up your hand, very much appreciated. And then I would say, and sometimes what people have raised with me is that they're concerned that the reason why I'm having this discussion is that I'm just worried about the practice making money. And then you explain your real opinion, right? So I'm not going to assume what your opinion is, but I am. I'm going to assume that you're not. The thing is, I'm assuming that you are in this business, you have a practice to help people, but also to make money, because we all need to make money, right? Juicy Denise says, yes, we'll have to watch from the start. But the fact of the matter is this, as a practice owner, it doesn't matter to me if the money for your 8 o'clock appointment tomorrow morning comes from Joe Bloke or from Joe Soap. I don't care who it comes from. It's still coming in, right? We're doing our marketing, we're getting our clients through the doors. I don't care who it comes from. What I care about is that this specific person is having a good experience with us as a mental health service. So it's not about the money. because whether it's client A in that appointment, client B or client C, who cares? The money's still coming in. The money is sorted, okay? Let's just park the money objection. It's sorted. We've got clients. Now, of course, if you don't have a full diary, that might be hard, all right? Because then you might need to be more clearer on your explanation there. But I know for the majority of us, clients aren't an issue. And especially if it's a clinician, they're more or less fully booked, it really doesn't matter which client comes in. It is about what experience is this person having with us as a mental health service. Because again, I've said this before, I will be darned if they have a negative mental health experience, because that will impact on their future help-seeking behavior. And I will, and that, because this is a negative experience with our practice is a misalignment to my vision and my values of helping. Now, doesn't mean that you're not going to have those clients. It doesn't matter what you do, you can't help them. We know that, right? There's always exceptions, but I'm talking as a general approach here. Simon says, easy way to respond to someone challenging you on client retention. Research supports the longer someone is in therapy for working on their issues consistently, the more likely they achieve better treatment outcomes. Exactly. There is a direct positive relationship between treatment outcomes and time in therapy. I love that. And you know what? If you say this stuff, let me tell you now, to your clinician and they go, well, show me where the research are, you tell them to go and do the research, right? Let them go and find it, because I will tell them what I know to be true from experience and research. If they go, but give it to me, I'll go, no, you go and research it yourself. You go and find it, okay? Because otherwise, how can you trust my research? Each of us need to research it for ourselves, but you need to do it so you know what you're talking about. Jay says, great discussion and group. Got to go, continue working on my private practice success course, all good. Rachel says, measuring fit and SRS I find very useful. Reviewing with each and every client. In addition, I can review clinicians' SRS ratings. Exactly, so we do SRS and ORS at our practice. We track all of that stuff. Adam, who is, hello, what are you doing here? Did you find me?
Yes, I did.
Want to say hello to the people?
Hi.
Want to tell them your name?
Ethan Miller.
Yes, are you going to bed now?
No, I'm watching some TV.
Yeah.
Will I have time? Mom, your eyes are red. Look in the mirror.
My eyes red. Yes. Okay.
My eyes are very big because I want to open my eyes in the pool.
Yeah. What's the
Will
question?
we have time to see the book?
Yes, we'll do book tonight.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
See you later. What book are we doing?
I will choose later.
You'll choose one? Okay.
Bye.
Simon says, I have the research papers showing it. So that is Ethan, everybody. So, Spidey, yes. So the photo in that recent post that I did over the weekend of the toddler, that's him. He is 8.5, almost 9 now. He's just making sure that I'm still going to do his storybook tonight for bedtime, right? So just giving some reassurance, seeing that I'm in here for so long. Where were we? Yes, so get them to go and search for the research because people need to take ownership. And oh yes, I was talking about fit outcomes. So Adam, who is our clinical team leader, Adam is in this group, I believe, as well. He is like a ninja when it comes to fit outcomes. He runs numbers for all our team members and he takes it to their monthly supervision sessions and he talks them through it. So we have a big focus on reflective practice at our practice, right? Because it's all about getting better ourselves. It's not being in competition with other people, but it's always coming back to how can I be the best version that I can be as a clinician, right? We are all here to help people. Thank you guys. Yes, he's very cute and he knows it. So that's important. So talk to them about reflective practice. There's actually, it's a lovely supervision book on reflective practice. I will take a photo of the front cover and I will upload it in here. It's not my book. I bought the book because my last supervisor masterclass that I attended as a staff supervisor was on reflective practice, because I'm so passionate about this stuff. I'm so passionate about empowering my registrars, my team members to be the best clinicians they can be, and they don't stay with my practice long term, right? People move on always at some point or another. But I see it as part of supporting them and getting them to do that type of thing and really growing so they can help as many people as possible. Critically reflective practice. I don't know the exact topic of the book. So it's like a pretty thick textbook, and then there's like a toolkit book that goes with it. Reflective practice and supervision. Yes, I think that's it. It's like a black cover. So I'll take a photo and I'll pop it in here. It was a really, really great book, and it talks about the 3 goals of supervision and all of that type of stuff. So I would always link these discussions not to making money, because that's not a value that resonates with the clinician, but I would address it as an unspoken objection potentially if they might think that's why you're addressing it. So talk about that. We as practice owners need to be the first ones to openly start talking about money, right? And then I would link it to their values around helping and their values around growing as a clinician. Rachel says there's research by Moshe Taman, psychologist from Israel, who developed single session work, who research found that 50% of people only require 1 or 2 sessions, but obviously the other 50% need more. Yeah, because that would probably be The Worried Well, right? Simon says I have the book and toolkit. Yeah, it's a really, really great book. Let's see that I have any other notes, because I actually made notes, because I had so many thoughts when I read Samantha's thing, and I'm sure I've missed half of them. All right, let's see if I've missed any other questions. So guys, let me know if you have any other questions. Let me just reread her question. All right, so the other thing that I would say is you most certainly need to address it with them, address it right off the bat. It's really helpful when you can bring up the literature. A lot of psychologists, that's how they think, right? Evidence-based, evidence-based, evidence-based. So you need to have the evidence, but get them to do their own research around it. We, for example, do fit outcomes for the practice as a whole. We do fit outcomes for individuals, and we can actually compare how people are doing. Now, we don't put a whiteboard up with everybody's stuff. We can just look at it ourselves, because that allows us as management, so to speak, to see, is there huge differences? Are there trends? What themes come up? All that type of stuff. Hey, Kate, how are you? All right, that's all I can think of on this topic. Whilst I'm not going to jump off just yet, because I want you guys to pop in any questions you have. And if you have a question unrelated to this, feel free to ask as well. So definitely address it. I've given you ideas around where to look for stuff. I will give you the book. And yes, let me give you some numbers from my perspective. So at last check, when I last checked the research, it said that 27% of clients will drop out of session. I.e., what is a dropout? It's people that only do session 1, 2, or 3. So they never do more than 3 sessions. Now that 27% includes all the reasons why people drop out. So it could be that they only needed 1. It could be they only needed 2 sessions, or they only needed 3 and they're done. It could be that they had 2 sessions and moved away. It could be that they had 1 session and decided they hate your guts and they're never coming back again. It includes them. It includes all the reasons you can come up with, all the excuses you can come up with, all the reasons, excuses your clients might come up with for dropping out is included in that 27%. Okay, so that is the benchmark. We do not expect our clinicians to have like an 11% dropout rate. Yes, I would love them to be in single digits, which apparently I hear is makes you super shrink, but let's not go there. I am very much just, this is what the literature says, so that's all I need from you. If you are more amazing than that in your numbers, awesome, right? But I know that some people drop out. I'm not unrealistic. I'm not setting unrealistic expectations. I'm setting expectations based on the literature. If there is up-to-date literature, guys, and any of you know of it, I would love for you to share it with me, but that's the most up-to-date I have. And then in terms of retention rates, i.e. what's the average number of sessions that people attend, we try and get that around 6. Now, Simon, I know that you have been able to really achieve some amazing numbers around that, but that's what we expect of our clinicians. Again, I don't think that's unrealistic, but you will be extremely surprised when you actually run the numbers, how people struggle to get to a number 6. Okay, especially new graduates, how they struggle. So you need to hold their hand. You can't just expect them to come in and, you know, get it done. It's not going to happen. So there's some hand holding if it's somebody new to private practice industry and a new grad, but it's worth it at the end of the day. All right, which is why I always say when you hire, you want to hire for attitude. You want to hire people that want to learn, that are open to being mentored, that doesn't just say it. You know, a lot of people, when you ask that question at the interview, you know, are you open to learning? Are you open to feedback? They all go, yes, 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 of course, because that's the right answer, right? So I would ask them that question. I would ask them, all right, so give me an example. In the last 6 months where you received feedback, how you dealt with it, what was it, etc., right? Don't just accept yes for an answer. Hey Helen, how are you? Please put in questions, guys. Simon says yes, it takes a lot of time, work to support training, mindset changing. Exactly. Now also, guys, now that I have you here, just very quickly, can I ask a question? Very important question. Everybody paying attention. Looking you in the eye. Should bring you a bit closer. Yes, I'm still here. The question is, mindset. Exactly, Simon. So my question to you is, if you do not have a ticket to Elevate 2020 next year, why not? Tell me, why not? You are missing out on my monthly bonuses, okay? It's like yesterday I did a post on the Elevate page. I was writing it sitting on my bed and I handed my laptop to my hubby and I said, read that post for me and tell me, what does that mean? What does that mean? And he understood, he could explain it back to me. Because I said, I want to make it so clear to my people that every month, if you sign up this month and get your Elevate 2020 ticket, which is for July next year, you will get a free bonus training. And in January, you'll get a free bonus training. And in February, you'll get one. Okay, so the longer you wait, you lose out on all the previous free bonus trainings. I don't give it to you retrospectively. So from the month that you sign up, you'll get that month's bonus training and everything else. You've got your golden ticket, of course you do, Tani. I'm so proud of you. You are losing out. You're gonna lose out on literally thousands of dollars of free training from myself, okay? And other people, like this month's one I actually did with somebody else. You do not wanna lose out. Do not be one of those people that says, oh, I'm gonna wait until March and then get my ticket. I might just decide to up the price for Elevate 2020. I've actually been toying with the idea to make the current price because I think it's underpriced, which I think is $1,200, which is flipping underpriced for those 2 amazing days. And I'm actually toying about making that now the early bird. The previous, remember we had like an early bird for the first 25 tickets, making that the launch price. This the early bird and upping it very, very soon, right? Because I honestly feel the ticket should be minimum $1,500 for those 2 days. I would come, oh well, Simon. Well, Simon, your name is on a certain list. Your name is on a certain list. So what I'm doing with this speaker is I've got a list of names that I wrote out months ago already when I decided first that I'm going to do Elevate 2020, but I'm signing up one speaker at a time. because of how the 2 days are set together. There's like a whole theme, and then there's two themes every day. It is like magic. Let me say that. And your name, Simon, has been on there right from the start. So you never know. You never know, right? So I'm not saying anything, but your name's on a list. Your name's on a list, and I'm working through my list. And it's not in order of importance, please just know that. It is in order of my theme and my process, because that's just how structured my mind is, right? It's like a journey. My intention over those 2 days are to take practice owners on a journey, on an elevation journey. So I'm signing up the people, the speakers as I go, that's going to help me take people on the elevation journey during phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Anybody else? Please let me know if there's any specific reason why you have not signed up, other than just, I don't know, you haven't made the time, so book that in, do it right now, get your ticket, because you're missing out on the monthly bonuses. The people that got their tickets in October has already gotten 2 amazing bonuses for free. They will get every other one that's still coming, right? You do not want to miss out. I would also suggest you book a ticket for your practice manager or for your principal psychologist. We're actually going to do specific stuff for the practice managers, for admin team that might be there. We're going to have like breakout sessions with my co-founders from Halo Practice Management. We're going to take those guys into their own room and really work with them as well. It's going to be a very small, intimate group with them to really support them and elevate them, because if we can elevate the admin people, the admin team, the practice manager, because they in turn then helps you elevate. They are your support people. Most certainly keep it free, and it's not a weekend. I think it's a Wednesday and a Thursday, Simon. It's Wednesday and Thursday midweek. You did, Denise. You were like super quick. I was very impressed with you. And Abby told me today that she was following up on your business models training, so hopefully you've received that. She was sitting there with her laptop going, I don't know what's going on here with Denise's stuff. Let me just check it out. So she is working on that. So hopefully you've got all of those things. All right, guys, do you have any other questions for me before I go and spend some time with Spider-Man, reading him a book? I wonder what it will be tonight. Last night, I think it's like, you know how it is, right? It's the same book over and over. It's either Pick the Pug or one of the Pick the Pug books. And very recently, he's rediscovered an old favorite. There was an old lady who swallowed a mozzie. I don't know why she swallowed a mozzie. She must have been Aussie. No, that book is awesome. So awesome. I love reading it. I love reading books that rhyme. All right, so there's no other questions. Again, get your Elevate tickets. Get your practice manager in, make it a nice professional development event with them. You know, come and stay with us at the Emporium Hotel. Book your accommodation there before it sells out. I think it's going to be really important to stay at the Emporium, which is the venue. It's part of the elevation process, because the environment in there is just like next level. It's like, wow, 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 wow. They've got the best elevators, the best. The kids love the elevators. So get in there. Just go to elevate2020.com.au, get your tickets. Would love to see you there. Thank you so much for everybody that joined me live. If you hopped into the live like halfway, quarter of the way through, be sure to watch from the start. There was a lot of gold in the start, as there was throughout the process. Keep on having the discussion, especially if you've watched the replay. You know, pop in questions. I will come back. I will check it. I will answer it. Thank you so much, everybody. It was really lovely to spend some time with you tonight. And remember, as always, all you need to do is say yes to your very own ultimate level 5 private practice. Bye for now.